There are many upgrades you can do to your Airsoft riffs, and today I'm going to be upgrading the spring in this SRS. I've had a little package come, I've had a few little springs arrive here, and I'm going to be going through the steps of what you need to do to upgrade yours, and also give you a little bit of insight into some things to keep an eye out for. So today this package arrived and I very quickly ripped it open to find inside two of these Silverback SRS springs. Now one is 90 newtons, one is 95 newtons, and the newton number essentially means the power of the spring. How many joules it's going to give you, how many FPS it's going to give you when you're shooting your BBs down the range. With the SRS stock, I don't know how powerful that spring actually is, so after we've done all of our tests, I'm sure we're going to be in a position where I can make an assumption of how many newtons that spring may or may not have. If you do know how many newtons the spring has stock in the 26-inch A1 version of the SRS, please do let me know in chat. I'll be very interested to know. First things first, we need to take the rifle off the wall, we need to get some BBs, and we need to chrono it now to see what it is shooting at. Now we're going to be chronoing this with two different weight BB, 0.2 gram and 0.4. The reason being is 0.4 is the weight BB that I actually fire through this thing, so I want to make sure what the FPS is with that, and also what the joule is on that. And I'm also going to be doing it with twos because some sites want you to chrono on 0.2 gram BBs, so I need to make sure that it's under the limits on both accounts. Now you may be thinking, why do I need to check both of them? Surely they're going to be both the same. Well, that's not the case, because there is something called joule creep. Now there's a lot of people out there who think that joule creep isn't real, it's mystical, it's magic. They're wrong, okay? It's pure science, and I'm going to touch on what is joule creep in this video and why you should be chronoing your riffs at 0.2, and also what weight BB you actually use when you're going out to skirmish. But for now, I need to get me some twos, chuck them in the riff, and see what it's chronoing at. Today I'm going to be using the Airsoft AC5000. It's one of the cheapest chronos you can get out there, and it's never really let me down. You'll also find that this chrono is the same chrono that a lot of other sites use. So that helps you be safe in knowing that you're going to be under their limits too. Because chronos can deviate from one to the other one, but generally it's not going to be like more than around 5 to 10 FPS, absolutely max 10 FPS. Like if it was any more than that, it'd be a very poorly calibrated chrono. Generally speaking, Airsoft chronos are the most popular ones out there, so if you're going to get your own one, which I highly recommend, get an Airsoft. We're going to do 0.2s first of all. I'm also going to grab actually a second mag. 0.4s will be in the dark mag, 0.2s will be in the shiny mag. Always remember, wear your eye pro, even if you're shooting inside, because things can happen. Just changing the weight of the BB down to 0.2 grams there, and we're ready to put a few rounds through it. So for this to be site legal right now, we want it to come up as below 500 FPS. Putting 3 BBs through it, we can see there that we had 407.9, 395, and then 398. So we are well within site legal limits for that. Having a little look at the joules, that's 1.47 joules. The legal site limit for joules in the UK for this is 2.3. So we want to get as close to 2.3 as possible, but not over. Now though, we're going to swap across to the 0.4 gram BBs and see if this shows us anything different. Got the 0.4 gram BBs. Chrono is set up on 0.4. Let's do it. 3 BBs down the range on that. We got 292, 290, and 293 FPS on the 0.4s, and that gives us joules of 1.6. But that's more than it was before. It's almost like the joule power has creeped up or something. But how could that happen? We'll come back to this again a bit later on. So the rifle is now clear. It's all empty of BBs. We got our 0.4s there, we got our 0.2s there. I'm just going to quickly get out an FPS chart as I'm going to look into the FPS of what we just had. Because again, on the 0.4s, we need to know what the equivalent FPS is at 0.2s, because this is what a lot of sites will often refer to, and seeing if your riff is legal. So having a little look on the chart, we can see that on 0.4 grams at 293.9 FPS, just over 410 FPS equivalent on 0.2s. So that's going to be about 415, 420 FPS equivalent on 0.2 grams. I wonder if when we put a more powerful spring in, if that difference is going to change more or less. I guess there's only one way to know. So what we're going to do now is put the first of the new springs into the SRS. So we're going to grab these two here. We're going to start off with the 90 Newton spring and then move our way up to the 95. Now it's very, very easy to swap your springs out of the SRS. All you do, there's a little clip at the bottom here. You just pull that back and then slide the stock downwards, or what would in this case upwards. And then that allows you to pull the stock off with the spring guide attached. And there is the spring there all removed. Now I'm going to put that on the side for now. I'm going to take the new spring. Now when I do finalize a spring in the riff, I will put a bit of lubricant on there. But as we're just putting it in to test it, there's no real need to do that for now. So I'm going to pop that in, make sure it seats properly inside the piston, take the butt plate, line up the spring guide, and just like that, the new spring is in. Chrono is set to 0.2s. 0.2 magazine is in. Rifle is cocked and firing those few rounds through. 443, 442. The third BB didn't register for some reason, but with those two results being very close together, I'm fairly certain on that consistency. Going up to a 90 Newton spring, we've had an increase of about 44 FPS, which is pretty good to see. Now, let's swap across to the 0.4 gram BBs and see what happens. All right, 0.4 gram BBs in the rifle. Chrono is set. Let's put a few down the range. We are coming up at 327, 329.3, and 329.3. Very, very consistent, and that's something I'm very happy with, because if you're not consistent, you're not going to be hitting your shots. With the joules, we've gone up to 2.02 joules, so we're still within sight limits. And taking a look at the FPS chart, that puts us equivalent between 450 and 500 FPS. So at the minute, we're still completely sight legal on that spring, on that weight. But did you notice how the joules is more with 0.4s as opposed to with 0.2s? Again, it seems like there's something strange going on, which is making it more powerful, the bigger weight BB in there. Nice result. Consistently putting it up. Very nice to see. But we do have another spring to try. So let's again swap out the spring and put some BBs downrange. Okay, so on 0.2s, we are getting 467.2 FPS at 2.03 joules. So again, well within sight limits. I've got an extra 33 FPS on there, which I could play with. However, let's just see what it's like with the 0.4s in there, just to be certain. Okay, so on 0.4 gram BBs, we are getting 351 FPS. On that one there, 351, 350, 353. So pretty darn consistent. But the joules is 2.29. Isn't that interesting? Almost 0.27 more joules, if my memory's correct, on 0.4s than 0.2s. So it's actually more powerful with a heavier weight BB. But how can that be? Just quickly looking on here, 351 FPS on 0.4s, on 0.2 equivalent, literally just below sight limits. 500 FPS on 0.2 is 2.32 joules, and I'm currently sat on 2.29. You can't really get any more perfect or any more spotter than that. Let's be real now. Like that is absolutely perfect for where you want it to be. But where does that extra power come from with the heavier weight BB? It's all just a little matter of science. With this rifle, the barrel extends from here all the way out to here. It's a very, very long way to go. With a 0.2 gram BB, it's a lot lighter than a 0.4 gram BB. So that means it's able to accelerate faster and not spend as much time in the barrel. Now, because it's not spending as much time in the barrel, it's not actually making use of all of the air in the compressing piston, and it's accelerating so fast, it's leaving the barrel before it's had time for all of that energy to be imparted into it. I can take these off now, I'm fogging up. With the 0.4 gram BB though, because it's heavier, it takes longer to accelerate, which means it takes longer to exit the barrel and allows more time for the compressed air from the piston to impart its energy onto the BB. So even though it's exiting the barrel at less of a velocity than the 0.2, of course in our test we saw the 0.2 came out at 460 FPS and the 0.4 came out at 350. Because of the extra weight attached to that BB, it actually makes it more powerful, and that's why you get that jump in joules. A lot of people say that joule creep doesn't exist and that every sight should just chrono on 0.2s, but this is a bad idea. I could actually make this illegal as an airsoft gun in the UK, not just sight limits, in the entirety of the UK. But if I chronoed it on 0.2s, it would be sight legal, and that's just not right. So for all of you doubters out there who don't think joule creep exists, it does exist, and it is actually quite a serious issue, because I want to make sure if I'm getting shot at by something like this, it's within sight limits, and it's within UK law limits, and I'm sure you do too. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learned a few things here. If you own an SRS and you found it useful, please do let me know in the comments below. As for these upgrades, I don't think I'm going to be buying any more springs. I'm just going to keep the springs that I have. I've got the less powerful ones, I've got these stock, and I've got the 90 Newton one as backups, which is always nice to have. With the results that I had today, I would say the stock spring is probably around 80 Newtons. And if you're looking to use 0.4 gram BBs in your SRS, well, SRS 26-inch one, because remember the length of the barrel does impact FPS too, then I'd recommend the 95 Newton spring for your next upgrade. If you're running the sport or the covert ones, this information will vary. Thank you again for watching this video. I hope it's been informative, and I hope you've liked this type of video too. Thank you, make sure you sub, make sure you like, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Lots of spring noise coming from it now with that new spring. Gonna have to try some mods to make it quieter now. Maybe I can use my monster can.